Welcome to the Apple Pie Club, where every week we invite you to join us for a cozy and insightful conversation on life and spirituality and Stoic wisdom. So grab your slice of apple pie, get comfortable, and tune in with us as we share our thoughts and experiences and wisdom on navigating the twists and turns of life's journey. Whether you're seeking inspiration, a fresh perspective, or simply some heartfelt camaraderie, you're in for a treat with the Apple Pie Club. So sit back and relax, and let's dive into this week's soul-nourishing discussion. Our quote for this week is from Heraclitus. No man ever steps into the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man. Of course, here Heraclitus is referring to mankind and not man as in the male form of the human body. Heraclitus was from the city of Ephesus, and I've been to the ancient ruins in Ephesus, and it's in modern day Turkey. And it was very special for me to go there. So I have a special place in my heart for Heraclitus. He was an ancient Greek philosopher. And Tanya, really, this is one of my favorite quotes. I even wrote it in one of the books I've written, Transform Your Tomorrows. But what's your understanding of this incredibly insightful quote of Heraclitus?
Yeah, I agree with you. I love this quote. It very much speaks of the fact that nothing is static and nothing is permanent. Everything's in change and influx and in movement. Mm. So if we look at it from a philosophical perspective and trying to apply it to one's life, I'd like to break it into two segments so that people can apply it to their life in today's world. So if we look at it, there's two elements. One is the river is not the same, and one is the man is not the same. The man being humankind and one energy. If we look at that quote and take it more into application into everyday life. So what does it mean? So let's first of all look at water from the sea, the river, even turning the tap on and watching it flow. It flows and transforms. It doesn't stay static. Its composition changes. The temperature will change depending on what's going on in the environment and the surroundings. That if you were to put your hand in the water, if you're looking at the sink, you could see it all changing and flowing over you. And I think when we first of all look at fluidity and change and we consider it from the flow of water, it really allows us to grapple with the idea that nothing is static. Everything changes. Everything in reality changes. Whether you're looking at the clouds in the sky, the different seasons, everything changes, nothing's static. And that's a wonderful thing. I was talking to someone the other day and I thought, if you thought that you were going to be alive forever and never pass away and die, would you enjoy yourself as much? You probably wouldn't. Would you just be like Groundhog Day? So whenever we're struggling or upset or trying to grapple with an idea or in a bad space, because life's full of ups and downs, it's very useful to know actually nothing's static. This is not going to last forever. You're going to be fine. Roll with it. Flow through what is going on and don't fight the forces. Now, when we look at the second element of it in terms of us, for people who are only just getting into philosophy and spiritualism. So when we look at our bodies and realize from a cellular level that we're also ever changing, our cells are renewing, our white blood cells live for about 13 days, our red blood cells, 120 days. So we know that our bodies renew, our thoughts also are. So our thoughts don't stay static. And for those who are interested in evolving and becoming happier and more fulfilled with their own thoughts, and that's probably why you're listening to the Apple Pie Club and the discussions that we're having, we also start to realize that our thoughts, our feelings, everything we know is also changing. And we can find peace, solace, and fulfillment in the fact that everything's moving and changing. So that's why I love this quote so much. I'm going to hand back to you.
Thanks, Tanya. I agree. You know, for some people, they hate change, and change can be quite a stressful thing. And of course, some aspects of change can be, you know, moving house, moving countries, divorce, separating from relationships. Those are big changes, and they can be extremely stressful. But as you've said, the most wonderful thing to remember is that life is always moving, and sometimes we just have to move through with it. So this quote reminds me of the incredible need to be compassionate with ourselves and with others. As we are not the same man, so as you've already mentioned, so are others evolving and changing. And it's really easy for us to judge or condemn ourselves, feel guilty about our actions, or to judge and condemn others. But we're told to treat others as we would like to be treated. Heraclitus was considered to suffer from depression, or at the very least, some say to be melancholic, but he was actually known as the weeping philosopher. So I think that does surpass melancholy, really. So this quote makes sense in that light. Can you imagine him as he came to this realization one day? He must have, as we've probably all been, oh, I've been here before. Have I come to the same mountain, the same river? You know, and so how many times must I come to the same river? How long does it take to become whole and to feel worthy and to believe that we're enough and not this river again? And then one day he gets this revelation. No man comes to the same river twice, for it's not the same river. It's changed. The water's flowing. It's eroded some parts of the bank. It's not exactly the same river. It's a new lesson. It's changed somehow. It's changed in some way. Might look the same, but it's not. And I'm not the same person. I've changed. Sometimes it takes us a long time to realize the changes that we make in our lives from those little steps that we take each day. We may not even see them, but we're not the same person, and it's not the same river. So I wonder if that revelation, or this revelation, set him free from that turmoil inside of wondering if he would ever be free, if he would ever be whole, if he would ever be worthy, if he would arrive at his destination in his spiritual and his personal growth. But you know, we never arrive at a destination in our personal and spiritual growth. As long as we're on this planet, we will always be facing a version of the river and a version of ourselves. And the key is to accept. And I love the phrase of Adyashanti where he says, let everything be exactly as it is without the need to change it. Now, that doesn't mean we must not ever change anything, or, want to have some changes in our lives. But when we are living in a situation just desperately waiting for it to change, needing it for it to change, desiring it for it to change, we're not working with the river, we're not working with the flow, and we're not allowing ourselves to be present with our growth opportunity.
It's interesting what you've just said in changing and accepting and flowing, when you consider it from people who don't carry on with any self-development. I went back to the UK, where I'm from, and I met some people who I used to work with like 25 years ago. And they hadn't changed at all. They were still acting as if they were early 20s.
Wow.
There was no evolution
Wow.
which had taken place there. And I often wonder, well, if you don't understand that you flow, that you change, and you seek that continuous improvement, what an impact does that have on your life? Now, if your life is going swimmingly perfect, maybe some people never have to actually look at themselves like that. Maybe they never get to the point where they want to be more philosophical and spiritual about how they approach their life. And that's fine, each to their own. But for people who are really struggling, it's really important to understand movement, flow, and change. Because it makes me also consider the book, The Art of Living, by Epictetus, where he emphasized the importance of accepting change and living in harmony with the natural flow of life. And he puts forth the argument that true happiness and fulfillment does actually stem from understanding and embracing the transient nature of existence. And when you think about that, when we're going through our different experiences in life, again, I'll go back to the word flow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Flow. And if you master flow, oh my God, it totally transforms your life, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
If you flow, don't resist what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And when you flow, it really helps you to become more resilient and adaptable by absolutely recognizing and embracing that change is absolutely inevitable, right? We're all going to experience it, but don't get attached to the outcomes. Don't get attached to the outcomes, especially if they're out of your control.
Yeah. That's the key, isn't it? That's what everyone would say when you're setting intentions, when you're setting goals. Set what it is you want, how you want to feel. You know, I want to feel joyful. I want to experience love, but don't get attached to the outcomes. Don't get attached to a particular person or a particular job, because we don't know what exactly is going to bring that feeling to us.
Yeah, and if we get attached and we don't flow through it, we're putting a lot of expectations and a lot of our happiness and fulfillment onto how the other person's going to behave, right?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work because we're not flowing, we're not changing, we're staying static in our opinion. So when you look at the quote in the opposite and you say, okay, if you don't roll with the fact that we aren't the same person, the river's not the same river, and we think that we are the same person and the river is the same river and that person's the same person and they've not changed and I've not changed. I'll give an example here. I had a very dear friend, this was years ago, so we ended up not being friends anymore, whoever's fault that was. But I bumped into her, and this is like 10 years later. So I thought, if I don't appreciate that in 10 years, she's not the same person, anywhere near the same person she was 10 years ago, and neither am I.
Yeah.
But if I was to approach that interaction, that communication with her, with my opinion of 10 years ago, that would be very, very limiting for both of us.
You've developed and you've grown, and you didn't stay in any kind of triggered state from 10 years ago. Otherwise, that's how you would have showed up in the relationship.
Yeah. So when I think about this quote, that's what comes to mind for me, is not bringing past experiences to the present moment and making judgments on that.
Yeah, I love that. Acknowledging that the river's changed, I've changed there, and everyone else has changed.
And you've changed too. So not saying that, it's all going to end up hunky-dory or whatever, but at least give it a chance, right? Don't remain stagnant and unchanged in your belief.
Yeah.
Do some self-reflection and introspection on what is reality, what is fluidity, and the fact is, it is an absolute fact. There's no arguing. Rivers change.
Yeah.
People change and humankind changes. And there is one energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Roll with it.
Roll with it. Yeah. No, I love that. It's as the map of human consciousness shows us, Dr. David Hawkins, is we are able to change our perspective of things. We can choose to stay in those feelings of shame or guilt or fear or pain, or we can, as we spoke about, I think it was in our first episode, choose willingness. Willingness lifts us up out of those vibrational frequencies of force. And if you think about a river, you think about water, it doesn't try to push through a rock. It'll just go around the rock.
Yeah.
It'll take the path of least resistance. So the incredible amount of force that water has, and yet as it comes to something that resists it will just move aside and form another path, form another direction, form another way. Not saying that we should probably never persevere and push through something, but just be aware that sometimes we may be persisting and pushing through and trying to push through and persevere when actually the water just wants to take us around. The water just wants to take us in another direction.
You're kind of going towards the same destination, but you're doing it in a more calm, flowing manner.
Yeah.
And letting it happen in front of you, right?
I love that idea. I think that's really important to go back to and restate that you're going in the same direction, taken a little detour. You're not trying to go through the rock, you know. And it's really interesting. I wasn't planning on saying this, but this morning I woke up thinking about that movie. And I couldn't remember the name of the movie, and I thought I must look it up, and I didn't look it up. But remember, you may know it. It's the woman who dropped her earring in the lift, and she meets this man in the lift. But the interesting thing, and this is the whole purpose of the movie, is that it's a parallel path. That she could have taken this direction, or she could have taken this direction based on whether she got on the train that day or whether she missed.
Sliding doors.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I loved it. Because just that one, how many times, as probably we were talking about Heraclitus saying, not this river again, but how many times do we think, oh gosh, I missed that train. Now I have to wait for the next one, and we judge ourselves, maybe if I hadn't caught this train, or if I hadn't, the worst thing for me is if I hadn't said this, or if I hadn't done this. The reality is we need to cut ourselves some slack. This is a real lesson on self-compassion. And so I really love that concept, that whether you missed the train or you got on the train at that particular time, you will find your way back to dropping your earring in that lift at that time and meeting that person. So I really love it. If we learn to, in fact, the Course in Miracles says that I've been speaking on recently, you can choose a grievance or a miracle. When we have this grievance, we're resisting, we're wanting everything to be our way, we're controlling, we want to control this situation. No, they shouldn't have said this, or I shouldn't have said this, and they shouldn't have done that. Or, we can choose a grievance to keep us in those lower level energy frequencies, or we can choose the miracle, let go of the grievance and choose willingness. I'm willing to see things differently. I'm willing to take the path of least resistance. I'm willing to actually be guided by the river and flow and trust. That's really what flow is. Flow is the word trust. Trust that life has our back. I say life has our back.
It's like grievances. You're going to stop the water flowing because a rock's in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. I remember, so we were giving this task when I was quite early on studying philosophy, and my son was only about 6 months old. Now, my house is quite cold in winter. It's lovely in summer because it's nice and cool. And I thought it was freezing cold outside, so I've wrapped him up and I've gone outside walking up to the shops, and I thought, oh my God, it's so hot, right? And I'm looking and I'm thinking, everybody's looking at me. They're looking at me going, how can, and I'm like, stop, just stop. Number one, get off your own horse, because why do I think that everybody's so looking at me and I'm so important, because nobody is. And number two, just like, he's not going to die, just carry on walking. So I let it go, because we were practicing philosophy, and flow was one of them. And I let it go, and I went up to the shops, and he was fine, and got the shops, and I came back. So what was the difference? Well, the difference was by changing my thought process, and by not fighting or beating myself up, not being compassionate with myself. Yes. If I carried on like that, that would have been an awful half an hour of my life. Mm-hmm. Instead, I just flowed with it, and I concentrated. I'd done mindful walk, and I walked up with the pram, and it was beautiful. And that's the difference when you flow, when you appreciate that everything's changing, and our mind can change. And we've spoke about the neuro pathways in, I think it was in episode 2, we started bringing up neuropathways. Like the rivers changing, our thoughts can change as well.
Absolutely.
But we need to be mindful of when we need to change them. We need
Yeah.
to be mindful when that rock is in the way,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And remove the rock and just flow, because life becomes so much more fulfilling and happy and light and enjoyable. And ultimately, that's what life's about, isn't it? Yeah, being happy, being compassionate to yourself and to other people and to humankind, you know.
Well, self-compassion, interesting, the way we relate to people. Self-compassion is actually before compassion to other people. We actually need to have self-compassion, be kind to ourselves before we can actually be kind to other people. And then there's
100%.
which is the whole idea of you did nothing wrong. Everything that has happened to me is to help me to grow, help me to learn my lessons, help me to evolve into who I am supposed to become. And it can be hard to get there. But it's very freeing when you can see a difficult situation and you can look at these people with mercy and say, you did nothing wrong. This was all part of my growth experience.
Love it. So when we go back and look at the quote, no man ever steps in the same river twice, based on what we've been discussing. You can practice by just turning the tap on. Yeah.
Yes.
And mindfully looking at how the water is flowing and it's changing. Or if you're lucky enough to have water around you, rivers or lakes or the sea, go down and look at how it's changing. Drop a pebble in there and see the ripple. And then understand that the ripple, that ocean is one ocean. And that one ripple is just one part of a bigger energy.
Yeah, I love it. And to remember that it's a lifelong journey that we're on. We're not striving to get to a destination of perfection, of having arrived, of having made it. We've learned all our lessons. It's a lifelong journey. And I think that's what finally set me free, to be honest, is this realization, oh my God. And I can imagine Heraclitus looking at this river, and finally coming to this point and realizing it's a lifelong journey. We don't come to the same river twice. The river I, came to last time is different, even though it looks the same. We're not the same person. We're on this lifelong journey of self-development. And as long as I continue to be aware and continue to learn and continue to grow, but with self-compassion and with all of these, the ability to love ourselves and to love others. We're not waiting for this becoming, to this time when we become worthy, when we become lovable, when we become enough. We were born into this journey of learning and growing and development, and we'll die on this journey still learning and growing and developing. It just depends how much have we learned and grown and developed. So this is our view of life. We're never done. We're always changing. The river is always changing, always evolving. We're always learning. We're always growing. And that's why the river is never the same. And that's why we're never the same. So each person changes us in some way. Each experience changes us in some way. Each circumstance we find ourselves in changes us in some way. And each decision we make changes us in some way. But we need to trust in the universe that it doesn't matter what decision we make, whether we get the train or miss the train, okay? We will land up in the place that we are meant to be. We're transformed, as you mentioned, by the renewing of our minds, by choosing new thoughts. And those new thoughts are, I'm not going to judge myself. I'm not going to beat myself up. This new thought is, I am showing myself compassion. I'm forgiving myself. I'm letting all of that go. And so that's that different way that we're talking about. And that's what Heraclitus is reminding us, that we're always growing and changing into.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you know what? And sometimes you might feel like you're going backwards and not moving forward. And also that doesn't matter. I kind of got lost in a little maze of doing stuff which wasn't as philosophical or stoic as I wanted to live my life. So I felt like I got off path a bit. But eventually you end up coming back because situations were forcing me to come back.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. And cybersecurity, you shouldn't be an internal threat. And it all happened to send me back.
Out. You have something else to do.
Yeah, and I didn't realize at the time. So even though I'd been studying this for years and years and years, and then I went off path a bit, I came across a lot of rocks in my river.
As we all do.
To get them out.
Yeah. As we all do. As we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope this conversation has helped the listeners and given you food for thought.
Well, we're going to do a meditation now. So while we do it, maybe I would like to encourage you to think about your own life, your own river, your own path, your own journey. And maybe there's a rock right now in your path, and that as water, as fluid, we can resist, or we can choose to let that resistance go, and we can take the path of least resistance, and we can flow. So as we do the meditation, I really would like to encourage you to think about your own life and the aspects of your own life right now. So I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose and a slow breath out. And to do that one more time, our breath is what connects our divinity and our humanity. To take a deep breath in and slowly breathe it out. And imagine you're standing in front of a river. See the river? What does it look like? Is it wide? Is it flowing fast? Can you see the sparkle of the sunlight on the water? Can you hear the river as it's flowing past you? Take a few steps forward. And as you do, you feel the warm water beginning to surround your feet. You feel the water washing over you as it's flowing past. And you decide to surrender to the river, to surrender to the water. So you take a few more steps in. And you feel yourself going deeper and deeper. And pretty soon you're under the water. And as you're under the water, with the water flowing around you, decide what it is you're going to let go. And allow that water to take away from you. What guilt from the past, maybe from the present, can you surrender to the water? What feelings of shame? I'm not valuable, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm inferior. Allow the water to wash all of those beliefs away. What pain do you hold in your heart? Allow the water to cleanse your heart and all of the pain, and to take it all away with the flow of the river. Simply be willing today to let go. now I want you to feel the river giving back to you. As it surrounds you, it gives you its life force, its compassion, and its love, and its peace, and it's filling you up. Where you've let go and there's been space, it's filling you up. It's filling you up with joy and love. And when you feel ready, you can rise up out of the river and step onto the bank. You can even lie down on the bank as the warm sunshine heats up your body and soothes your soul. You can send gratitude towards the river. You say thank you, because today is a new day. It's a new river, and you're a new person.
Thank you for listening to us. We are the Apple Pie Club.